We will talk about bullies here, sort of on a couple of different levels. Usually when we're talking about bullying, it's kid-on-kid bullying, right?
Yeah, we get that a lot in our Bert's Big Adventure applications. A lot of our kids end up getting teased and bullied, and that was a common theme in our applications from this past year because a lot of our kids are of smaller stature because of whatever illness they're dealing with, and the kids tease them about it.
Man, if I got a call from the principal of my kid's school saying that my kid was bullying a special needs kid,
oh gosh,
there's not a punishment that would be harsh enough for that. I mean, I don't lay hands on my kids, and they're too old for all that, but they'd lose everything: oxygen, their beds.
It would take air away from
food.
Well, you remember,
go to school naked.
we had a lot of kids that were adopted this year, and one child was adopted from China. So she is Chinese, and her parents are Caucasian, and she got bullied for it.
Yeah, the bullying thing is so real in schools, and any parents know this too. And the kids now, I've got a couple of friends that had their own kids bullied, but it's not just physical bullying anymore. Right now it's online, and kids are so sophisticated now with technology that they'll bully other kids anonymously. So they will create different accounts on Twitter or on Snap or whatever, and they're not detectable because they're doing them from phones, like temporary phones or what have you. So there could be a whole bunch of kids that are bullying one, and you can't even
pinpoint where.
You can't pinpoint them. You can't bust them.
I got a friend who, her daughter, they jumped her at school, and she does not want to go back to the school because the kids made an entire Instagram page dedicated to what happened to this poor girl and sent it around to the whole school. I didn't even realize they were doing things like that.
Oh, it's pretty common. It's real common. But how about the kids that are bullying adults? And that's what Cassie is going through.
Yeah, and you know what? I went for a walk, and these kids started harassing me, and I'm not hurt about it, but I found it disturbing behavior, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I was taking my kids on a walk, and we passed these two kids playing in the middle of the street, right? They're playing football, but they're also wrestling in the middle of the road. And so my parents' senses are you shouldn't be playing here, but also we're in a subdivision. It's quieter. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I feel like it's okay. So
about how old would you say the kids are?
Probably 12 and 10, between those ages. Maybe 8 to 12, I'll put it that range. And there are two of them, and they look like brothers. So I walk past them, I smile, nod hello, and I can just see the one kid has a football, and he's kind of holding it and doing that tiny little jerk motion. Do you know what I mean?
Like he's going to throw it at you?
Yeah, but not. And I'm like, I am reading into this. Just ignore it and keep on walking. So I do. And then I hear him yell hey. And so I'm like, I turn around and goes, I was talking to my brother. And I was like, okay, it begins. It doesn't hurt my feelings, obviously. He hasn't done anything wrong, but they're starting to mess with me. So I just keep walking. They followed me for over 3 blocks, yelling things at me. And I'm with my baby and my 3-year-old, and I don't feel threatened by them. But I was like, I want to turn around. And I feel like it was a teaching moment to be like, hey, what you're doing is incredibly inappropriate. And also on a grander scale, you're 2 dudes and I'm a woman. Now, I'm not threatened by you because you're children. But as you get older, your behavior is really, really threatening. And if I were the same age as you, I would be really scared. But I was like, I just don't feel like it was my place to sit there and lecture 2 kids in the neighborhood where I live. And then they eventually went to another house and started playing basketball with another kid, and there was an adult there. And I was so torn because they didn't do anything, they didn't harm me. They didn't yell mean words at me, but it was just harassing behavior. So I also didn't know who the adult was, what their relation was. And so I didn't feel like I could be like, hey, these kids yelled at me for 3 blocks. It sounds so pathetic, but I was like, this behavior, if it continues as you get older, it's just indicative of a bigger, more problematic trend. And it was just such an interesting situation to be in where I was being harassed by children, and I didn't stick up for myself or lecture them, and I didn't know what to do.
I wonder if parents have any idea that their kid is the bully. I don't think they do, right? Unless somebody narcs on them. I think that they would have no idea. And in general now, I think, most parents feel like, hey, that's a reflection on me if my kid is bullying someone. And you know what? You're right. You are 100% right. But I still don't, I mean, I'd be floored. I would be absolutely floored if a neighbor hit me up and said your kid was bullying me walking down the street.
You would be floored, but I think too, it's how you look at the situation, and witnesses can see the same thing but see two different things. So you could tell the parents and be like, what's the problem? They didn't they wouldn't see anything wrong with it. So there's some people who are like, this is problematic behavior, and other people are like, no, it's not. They're just kids being kids, So I think it's that mentality as well as what we deem appropriate and what we deem inappropriate, and people have different definitions of that these days.
Right.
And that's why I didn't say anything, because I was like, I'm not going to discipline someone else's kids. And I always hear people, we always say it on the show, not my circus, not my monkeys. But at some point, I'm like, doesn't it take a village?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. 100% it does.
The Bert Show.
So first, thanks for watching. Second, you like what you just watched? That just scratches the surface. Get the Bert Show on any podcast platform. We're so good.